Meeting here of Tuesday, May 24th, 2022 of the Board of Trustees for the Village of Cambridge to order. Roll
Public
call.
hearing.
Public hearing.
Public
Oh,
hearing.
the public
Board.
hearing, I'm sorry.
Trustee Breinig,
Here?
Franklin, Whitwer,
Here.
Hollenbeck,
Here.
Cumbier,
Here.
Schaefer Weiss is excused, and McNally.
Here. All right. What can you tell us about the posting of this meeting?
The agenda was posted in the upper and lower levels at the Amundsen Community Center, the Hometown Bank, Badger Bank, Cambridge Post Office. Not the website. We're having issues. Chrissy's working on the website. It was published in the Cambridge News as well.
Okay. All right. We have the public hearing regarding a possible ordinance which would allow all-terrain vehicles and utility terrain vehicles on village roads, proposed Village of Cambridge Ordinance 2022-05.
Yep, so open for public comment. If you have a time limit you're putting on.
A quick start, that's okay. But do you want to read into public comment first, possibly?
I do have four that I distributed to board members, but I will read quick as well that people wanted in the, for the record. Chris Schaefer Weiss is not here today. She did want to share allowing ATV, UTVs on village streets will be very difficult to enforce speeding, underage drivers, drunk driving, and reckless driving. My understanding is that Cambridge law enforcement officers are not in favor of this ordinance, primarily due to the above-mentioned reasons. Cambridge is a village that is not rural, not connected to a lot of ATV trails, such as communities up north where it would be a better fit for usage. When the Quad City Runners presented their proposal for the ordinance change, they stated that this was becoming commonplace all over the state and country. There are, however, entire states that ban local ordinances allowing for ATV, UTV use on streets. Here in Wisconsin, a few communities have held referendums, and it was voted down. Some village boards have also voted against it. The reasons cited were safety concerns primarily. In communities that have passed the ordinance, there have been some documented problems with reckless driving, noise, drunk driving, drivers who don't obey speed limits or other traffic rules, which lead to potentially serious safety concerns for pedestrians and drivers in cars. With the challenges Wisconsin already has with drunk driving, this is a valid concern. If it is to pass, I would ask there be a provision in which the ordinance would be evaluated after a certain trial period with input from citizens and local law enforcement as to how well it is working for our community. Kathy Fox shared that she is unable to attend the village board meeting regarding the use of ATVs on village streets. Please let it be known that I am not in favor of allowing this to happen. Barbara Burkholz wanted to give input on the issue that will be discussed. I am unable to attend the meeting. I am against having the use of ATV and utility vehicles being driven on the village roads. Cambridge has quite a few roads with no sidewalks. When I am out and about, I see many people walking on these roads and on our street. We are getting younger families buying houses or families with grandchildren visiting that are riding bikes, with quite a few just learning to ride. I personally do not want sidewalks that I would have to pay for and maintain. What is the minimum age and licensing requirements? Other things that come to mind is if a pedestrian is hit by an ATV driver, what insurance coverage is required on these vehicles. Also, it's my understanding if someone is driving drunk on these vehicles and caught, they can only receive a ticket from the DNR, and technically that is not considered an OWI. Not sure that information is correct, but needs to be understood as this could promote that behavior. Also, do we need to add more things for our police to deal with? Personally, I believe a bad decision was made allowing farm animals in the village with no real accountability, and this would be another bad decision on top of that. If rural life is wanted, then live on a farm, and in the case of ATV, use make use of multiple trails that have been put in place for this activity. The village can't be everything to everyone. Thank you for asking our input. And the last one I received was from Mary Jermo. I am writing to ask you to consider the needs of senior citizens and the disabled in your upcoming review of ordinances related to sports utility vehicles on village streets. Cambridge has the highest per capita number of seniors in Dane County. We have many senior condos and apartments, but transportation is a problem for many. This was affirmed by the Senior Needs Assessment conducted by the Cambridge Area Senior Resource Network. Many of us need to use mobility scooters, adult tricycles, power chairs, golf carts, etc. to go short distances in the village. For some who live alone, it is their primary way to get to a convenience store for milk and bread and other essentials. For others, it is a way to get to the village hall, library, pharmacy, post office, banks, etc. I had a friend who used to ride her golf cart from Madison Street all the way to Grace Lutheran Church. I don't think this was legal. Is there a way that you can make it legal? Please clarify which types of transport should be used on sidewalks and which ones on village streets. For those legal to use on sidewalks, when the sidewalk ends, which ones can go a short distance on the street? Are there separate rules for Main Street as part of Highway 12 and 18? I'm not offering a position on allowing the larger recreational vehicles on village streets, but I am asking you to also consider adopting an ordinance allowing mobility, transportation, and/or golf carts. On behalf of your senior constituents, I thank you for your consideration of this request. So those were 4 comments that I had received prior to the meeting.
Are we limiting comments to 2 minutes?
How many people are here to speak tonight on any issue? 1, 2,
5,
Um,
6, 7?
okay. What do we want to go, 3 minutes, 2 minutes?
Here it go.
Oh,
Oh,
3.5.
Not an option.
No, we don't want to listen to you.
Let's go 2 minutes, go 3 minutes, but if it's been said, please keep that in mind on any of the topics, so you're not just going over things to go over it. Is that all right?
That's fine.
3 minutes, okay. And Chrissy, you're gonna take time?
Yes, sir.
All right. And she will let you know when it's up, it's up. Okay. Can you introduce yourself, sir?
My name is Dean Lund, resident of Cambridge, Wisconsin. I am in support of this UTV law that's coming. As through Wisconsin Act 193, 87, and statutes 23.33, the state of Wisconsin gives us the opportunity to use UTVs on the village streets to address some of the issues that they brought up. They're drunk driving, underage, speeding. That's strictly enforcement. Our ordinance today that you're going to be putting forward gives our law enforcement the right to do this. Now, if a car is speeding, we're going to get a ticket. Same with the UTV. If we're drinking and driving, the same thing. It's enforcement, and that's what the ordinance is here to do. Now, why are we doing this? If here's I didn't get the email here nor that, but these are all the trails in the state of Wisconsin. There is trails all over Wisconsin. And by opening up Cambridge to this, we're getting there. And just to let you know, in the village of Cambridge, on this, what's it, Polaris Ride Share, I think it's called?
Right, command.
We do have businesses that are advertising on this. So we have businesses that do want to get more people into town to buy the products. Gas stations, grocery stores, and even restaurants. So if you look here at the village of Cambridge, all these businesses are advertising here in Cambridge to support this ride.
Wow.
So we have not just enjoyment, recreational, it's also economic development. So I truly, truly support the use of UTVs for the village of Cambridge and our businesses. With that, I'll let the experts talk.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Hi.
My name is April Burmeister. I'm the president of the Quad County Runners. So with our last meeting, you guys had asked for like input or feedback. And we planned to ride last weekend with 2 weeks' notice. And we met at Camrock 3 Park, and we visited a lot of places that were around Cambridge but weren't able to come into town. And when we planned that ride with 2 weeks' notice, we had almost 50 machines, not people, 50 machines, which is huge. We went to Herring's. We met at Camrock Park 3 when we went to Herring's Bar and Grill. And then from there we went to the Badger Inn for lunch, and there were a lot of families there. Then we went to London Depot, and then we ended in Utica. There was a couple places I actually couldn't get so much information because they had a lot of groups there as well. But we did call Herring's Bar and Grill, and our impact for 45 minutes that we were there on a Saturday, they made an additional $319 in 45 minutes. London Depot doubled their sales from the previous Saturday. So the impact we can have on these businesses is huge. And that's really what we want to do. Our next ride that we want to do is a family ride where we would mostly do the shopping downtown, or we would do park visits, or we were going to go somewhere for breakfast and stuff like that, but we can't access this. And on our last ride, we would have stopped in here to begin with to go like to the gas station or whatever we needed there, but we couldn't get in here. And it's just huge. It gives us access to a lot of places without having to go all the way around. We went around, I think it took us almost an hour and a half because we weren't able to come through here. So that's why we want it open. We do want to support the businesses here. That's our main goal. And as far as like the drinking and driving, it doesn't really happen. Majority of us are pretty responsible as far as that goes. They do have to be fully insured. So, do you guys have any other questions? No?
Okay,
Thank you, April.
next.
My name is Chad Chadwick from Waterloo. Between what he hit on and what April hit on explains a lot of it. I just want to let you guys know, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Wisconsin Dells, huge tourist capital, they have also opened up 2 ATVs. All city streets, everything like that is open, yes. And we haven't heard of, if anything would be happening in the Dells, we'd hear it on the news, stuff like that. I haven't heard of any accidents, anything going on. I've seen between a couple of the groups that I follow, that people are riding through town and enjoying it. To us, this is, and other people that are looking at this sport, whatever, for me personally, it was this or motorcycle. Motorcycles legal everywhere, and this was great for my kids. We can pack everybody up as a family, we can go as 4 people, and we can just go. And it's, you guys are kind of stressing on the drinking and driving. Most city ordinances have the ATVs, UTVs off the street by 10 p.m. Your majority of your drunk driving and stuff, normally that's guys that are going out late on the motorcycles doing the poker runs and stuff like that, running into midnight, 2 o'clock, closing down bars. And that's not what this is about. This isn't about bar hopping. This is about being able to get in it. I mean, I use it to go to the grocery store, the ATV. It's another mode of transportation, and April had hit on it also that they do have to be fully insured through your vehicle insurance company. So that's bodily, that's everything's just like your automobile, your motorcycle, it's all insured and has to be on the trails. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Hi, my name's Becky Borgart. I have a couple of things I don't understand. Like, I've heard a lot of stuff about the safety difference. What is the difference between an ATV and a Jeep Wrangler that has no doors on it? There is no difference. There's actually more to a ATV because there's a hood over it. Jeep Wranglers, generally you have the doors off, you have the hood off. For drunk driving, I obviously understand everybody's concerned about drunk driving. If we were that concerned about it, Wisconsin wouldn't be filled with as many drunks as it is, let's be serious. Can't you guys make it part of the ordinance that it would be put on your record? Like, doesn't smaller government outweigh larger government when it comes to things like that? Otherwise, how would some places be able to legalize marijuana and other places not? I'm asking because I really don't know. And then last, gas prices are ridiculous. How many people that are driving ATVs drive pickup trucks? And this is saving their family a lot of money so that they can afford things like groceries and heat and water. I think that it's pretty much financially negligent to say that we can't do this, especially with all the business revenue we would receive.
Thank you, Becky.
Hi, I'm Donna Casey. We used to own motorcycles, and we got rid of them because we just didn't feel that safe with them anymore. And so now we bought the UTV. We mainly use our UTV for business. I go over to his box and mow his lawn, and I like to be able to put all my tools in the back of it, you know, because he has a long road up there. So we're basically using ours for work. You know, yeah, we will use it for recreational too, you know, but I just don't understand why the drunk driving, when we owned our motorcycles, you talk about going to different bars. Well, bars are the only place that have a decent hamburger. That's why people go there, you know. And when we had our motorcycles, that was our rule. We rode, you do not drink when we stop at a bar. And if you do have a beer, you're in the back. And that's the way I think everybody's gonna do it with this too. But basically, we are using it for our business, and I mean, I'm 75 years old, and I'm tired of carrying these tools from his long road. So if you can help us out, we would really appreciate it. And all these guys, I saw them riding last week, or a couple weeks ago, whenever they were, and they were just as safe as can be, you know. And we've got screens on the side of ours, we've got hoods, we've got windshields, we've got, you know, wipers, everything on our bikes, on our things. So I would really consider it. And you need to buy one.
Yes, thank you, Donna.
Thank you. All right. Others that want to speak?
Hi, I'm Scott Johnson. I own Scott's Wounding Maintenance in town here. And just like her, I use mine for work all the time. And the thing is, sometimes it's nice to just get in it and just drive down, you know, drive downtown to a restaurant, open air. You got a dune buggy, you know what I'm talking about, right, Mark? Mm-hmm. You know, anybody who has anything like that, it's just nice to get out, drive around town. You know, not any of us are ever out sitting there running around sitting, being drunk. It's just, you have the same responsibility in that UTV as you do in anything else. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot of people, especially in town here, you have people to look out for. Just like I do, driving around town all the time with my mower and my truck. And it's just something that'd be nice to just get in and do. And the biggest thing is now that Oakland and Rockdale and Christiana are open. But we can't get there. If I want to go, I have to trailer to Rockdale. So it'd be nice just to have a path to get around town and just do all that. And that's pretty much all we're asking for. I mean, I know we have Highway 12, which is going to be an obstacle at some point. But it'd just be nice to get all this open for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Is there anybody else? There is one other party, and that was law enforcement, and they're on their way, but they had a call for a murder investigation. So I'm that's what you call it. Seriously.
Death.
It was just a death.
Pardon me?
It was a death that he had to transfer.
A death.
A death, okay, I'm sorry.
A little different than murder.
Yeah, big difference.
I'm sorry. A death investigation. So I'm gonna, we'll bring in Joe for later on. And
Yeah, he
I'll
can-
close the public hearing portion of this meeting. And so.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're gonna close that portion of the meeting, and now we'll get started with our normal Village Board of Trustees meeting of Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Trustee Franklin.
Here.
Whitwer.
Here.
Hollenbeck.
Here.
Kumbir.
Yep.
Schaefer Weiss. Freundeg.
Here.
McNally.
Here. All right. If we can stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lisa, proof of posting?
Again, the agenda was posted in the upper and lower levels of the Amundsen Community Center, Cambridge Post Office, Hometown Bank, and the Badger Bank.
All right, okay. Public comment. Would anybody like to come up and speak about anything?
Question, please, Mr. President. Can the board ask questions to one of the experts during the, when the UTV ordinance comes up? Will you allow a question if you have any?
I think, who's your expert?
Mr. Blaska?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if the board has questions, they can ask questions.
Okay, thank you. Then I do want one more public comment,
'Kay.
please,
Well,
on the UTV, which Becky brought up, the tourism. Once again, my name is Dean Lund. I thought of the pottery clay tour. What a
Yes.
great event to have 50 UTVs going around to our pottery people and visiting them locally. Yes, they could do it out in town of Christiana, but they cannot get down to our businesses. So I looked at that, Firefest, and I did want to remind the board that we do have a UTV in use with our public service. It is on the ground, so we do allow a UTV. And these machines are not as utility, they are a little bit bigger. So just want to remind you of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Others for public comment? This can be on
Anything.
really anything you want. We will be taking up the ATV, UTV ordinance later. But, does anybody else have anything? Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting. Let's move on. Approval of the consent agenda, May 10th minutes, Water and Sewer, May 17th, Plan Commission for the 9th and 16th, and the Cable Commission of the 20th. Anybody,
I'll
Make-
make,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
all right, any discussion necessary? All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, looks like that's going to carry. The President's report, there was one item, it's just a wee bit early, so I'm gonna hold off on it. You kind of mentioned it, Dean, in your comments on pottery, but let's, I don't have anything at this time.
Hold on. Does whatever you want to talk about, is it in another agenda item?
No.
But then you need to talk about it now, because there's really no other opportunity if you wanted to bring something up.
I don't want to bring this up just yet, because it's.
At this meeting today?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, I misunderstood. All right, thank you.
I will, but it won't be today. Okay, library board meeting.
Well, Chris isn't here.
Yes, so, do we have anything?
she
I
would.
think there's anyone here who can speak to
Yeah.
it.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Plan Commission.
We met on we rescheduled to meet on the 18th. We met on the 9th briefly. The homeowner, property owner wasn't there, so we met on the 18th. The rest of it is on the agenda for later on, his rezone request. And there's just a little bit of public comment, but we'll get to it later.
Okay. All right. And then Audit and Finance.
We did not meet yesterday.
All
We
right.
will reschedule, yeah, whenever.
I'm hoping the 31st.
31st. I'm good on the 31st.
First,
All right.
same time?
Yes.
Was it,
same
what
place.
was it, 6:30?
Yes.
At 6:30? Okay.
Okay. Director of Public Works, Mr. Lord. Todd.
Step to the plate.
Yes.
Not see.
How are you this evening?
Too bad. How about you?
Oh, I'm fine. What can you tell us? How are we doing here in town?
Well, we're keeping busy. We're still behind, but we're keeping busy. We had a problem with the flag, as obviously everybody knows. The wind caught the flag and turned it into a sail, and bent the flagpole over. We're working on getting that taken care of with insurance and such things like that. I just wanted to say, Chris, you did really good at that sewer and water meeting.
Oh, thank
You
you.
were awesome.
All right.
The flagpole had to be taken down?
Yes, we had taken the flagpole down, and we just have a temporary 20-footer sitting there right now, just so there's something there for Memorial Day.
Okay. There was no way to straighten it? Couldn't do that?
No, you could not straighten it. It was bent in two places, the base and the base in the center.
All right, okay.
And
Lots
the
of
base
pictures
looked like
if you
it
want
was
to see.
already sacrificed before, so.
Over 100 years old that flagpole.
That flagpole was 100 years old?
Yeah, and we're getting park stuff ready. We're just catching up with park stuff. I just got the benches painted so we can get them out to the parks.
All right,
That's gonna be our rainy day thing.
okay.
So-
A minor item, but I walked by Veterans Park and I checked the bubbler and it wasn't on last Friday.
I'll make a note to Derek about that,
Yeah.
because he was gonna show me how to turn those on.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if people drink there, but I know the little hounds do, the
Right.
dogs.
Okay.
You know, they're always going over there and go, go. And so they're.
Right now, we're working on cleaning up the,
Yeah, yeah.
we're cleaning up the memorial area too.
Yes.
We're gonna get some mulch down there and
Okay.
stuff like that, so everything's ready for
That'll be
Monday.
done this week for the
Yep,
festivities on Monday.
and we're behind on all that.
Okay.
I have a question for you. How's your new piece of equipment working?
Pretty awesome,
Yeah.
pretty
Can
awesome.
you elaborate in case?
What,
people don't
what
know?
new piece of equipment did you get?
We got a loader.
And what does the loader do?
Chris and Derek worked on that one.
And what do you do with the loader?
It's for cleaning up the debris. We're gonna be able to lift higher with a bucket that we have and stuff like that, so we can do the decorations are easier and
Oh, nice.
stuff like that, and it's a more stable machine.
Good.
But it can pick up a lot of stuff.
Do you use that, what do you use for picking up like the branches and stuff that we leave on the side?
My hands that shove it in.
Thank you, by the way. You did a good job at my yard,
Thank
so
you.
I appreciate it.
Okay. And you got that tree taken down over in the park?
Yeah, we cleaned that up.
That was-
We cleaned that up, and apparently I didn't see any damage to that truck, so.
Okay.
And I didn't hear from him,
All right.
because I looked, we got pictures of the truck. Remember, you had me take
Right.
pictures of the truck, so.
What about the tree? Did Tree Works say anything about?
They're
taking
gonna
that?
schedule it.
Oh, they're.
Yeah, it's gotta go. It's, they were looking at it, and you can tell that there's a sec, where they did quick chops and stuff. They're hollow, so that's a hollow tree all the way through.
This is the big
The
oak.
oak? Oh.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a shame to lose that oak, because that's a good shade thing for the kids playing at the park,
Yeah,
so,
All right.
Firefest.
But it's gotta come down, it's gotta come down.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And then Jay said that he already had some trees that we can line up there too,
All right.
to at least get a start of, get something growing there,
Okay.
you know,
It'll be a while before we see one that big again.
right.
if
But
ever.
the sooner you start, the sooner they grow.
All right, okay.
The piece of equipment at the West Side Park, since you're talking about West Side, there's that one piece of playground equipment. Is that getting replaced? That thing that has like a rubber thing in the middle and wiggles.
Well, it's already been taken out.
Sweet.
It's been taken out.
Okay, good.
So, and the thing is that you cannot replace any of those parts.
That's what I heard.
That thing is passing beyond that park equipment, so.
Okay.
That stuff actually gets deleted probably about every 5 to 10 years, so. And I'm assuming that is better than 10 years old,
Okay,
that equipment.
all right. I'll get with you on the parade, because I know that.
Derek will be in charge of that.
Derek will? Okay, because I know that Dane County will be down at 1218 blocking it there, but I think we block it up at the top.
He said the fire department does, Dane
Oh, the
County
fire
said the fire
department?
department
Okay.
does.
All right,
They do all the blocking between the county and the fire department,
all right, okay,
so they control the road situation.
all right. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Any other questions for Todd?
The plow, the park that the village owns by the plow, there is a pedestal there that we had pottery on. Are we leaving that pedestal there?
Yes.
That's a good question.
So I think we should leave it there in case, I mean, because there's going to be additional firings for Firefest. There's going to be additional statues, and it would be really nice if we could replace a statue in that spot again. I mean, because that's a huge draw for Cambridge is Midwest Firefest, and I think it's important to have one of those on the main street of Cambridge to show interest.
Yeah, I know Dean enjoyed his last one. I was there.
I will just comment, I have let the Arts Council know if they want the pieces on village property to let us know beforehand so the board can approve it and so forth.
Right, yeah.
All right, okay. Todd, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
Thanks,
update.
Todd. You're doing great, man.
Thank you, Todd.
All righty, village office updates.
I did attend some Dane County election training, which we were working on our emergency plans for election day. Also coming from that, we statutorily have to send out letters to absentee voters who did not respond to the April 5th absentee ballots that were sent to them. If they weren't returned, we have to send letters to them statutorily. Finalizing work with the auditors. Chrissy's been doing the journal entries and so forth that they've given us. Last Thursday and Friday, I was at a conference with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities municipal insurance program that we are a part of. I was telling Mark, it's always one of my favorite conferences to go to. It's a lot of things that we hope we never have to deal with, but to have that information if we do face issues. It's great to have. They roll out new programs. They have one is in partnership with Stafford Rosenbaum where we can contact them for assistance on some HR issues and so forth. And the LWMMI covers the cost of that. The most exciting thing from the weekend was each year they do safety grants. Municipalities our size, we usually get about $700 a year. It's their 20th anniversary. So for their 20th anniversary, they were giving away $20,000. They picked 2 names out of a hat for $10,000 safety grants, and we received a $10,000 safety grant. So one of 2 communities. It was wonderful. The other one was also a small community.
Nice.
Compared to the large cities that are there. $10,000 is $10,000, but it means a lot more for us small communities. So I'll be working with the guys. Todd and I talked about it briefly. What types of equipment would be useful for them. We then have to run it by the league. They approve it and so forth. But we'll have $10,000 that we'll have for safety equipment. So.
And that's on top of the other safety grant.
Yeah, and they did say this year, In the past, it was, they paid 75%, we had to pay 25. This year, they are switching it to them paying 100%.
Wow.
So later this year, we'll also be eligible for that grant, so.
Nice.
A lot of the work that they do is trying to prevent things, being proactive. So there's a couple different programs that I'll be talking about with staff, and that I'll bring back to the board that we can join and participate in at no cost through the policies. So, like I said,
Great.
it's always a great conference, the things you hope we never have to deal with. Cybersecurity, they come with examples of municipalities getting scammed and, yeah, a lot of different things, but this was the icing on the cake.
Yes.
That was wonderful. We're, with the new committees being set up, we are working on trying to set up a lot of meetings. I will ask you all, please be checking your emails as we send out emails for dates and so forth, as we're juggling, trying to set up 3, 4, or 5 meetings at a time. So sooner you can get back to us, the better on that. We will be setting up a liquor licensing committee. All the packets have gone out to the license holders in town. We're getting those back, so a notice has to go in the paper, and we'll get that meeting scheduled. Working with Ellers on the proposed TID 6 and all of these scheduling, the time frames and so forth that are going on with that. So a lot of things going on.
Okay. Any questions for Lisa?
Hey, Lisa, what's the status of the website getting redone?
Right now, we're working on the current. We haven't gone out for the RFP yet. I know that's on our to-do list. Chrissy has been working with Civet.
Yeah, I've been working, that's
And
the
with-
web browser, the web holder, sorry, my voice. They're the ones that I try to reach out and ask for help. I guess what they did is they did a recent migration of it and didn't let us know. So then I had to contact our computer company and have them change some URLs behind the scenes. It worked for 1 second, but then now it's back. We're locked out.
Okay.
So tomorrow I'm gonna call again and hopefully get somebody that can help us. And I thought we signed a contract though with Civic Plus that
Yes.
we're locked in, so we can't really, we can go out and probably get quotes.
Yeah.
So when
So
when
then-
it's up for renewal.
Yeah, early next year, we can start the process, go out for RFPs, start working with somebody so that when our current contract is up, we can then migrate over to a new. I believe that's beginning of next year, that it's up,
So,
so.
so it'll take a while, so we really
Yeah.
should choose
Yeah.
who we want, like 3 months,
Yeah.
at least 3 months before that changeover
Yeah.
date.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Lisa. Bills, Chrissy?
First round of bills was $80,839.45. Second round, $2,018.40. The grand total is $82,857.95.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills for $82,857.95.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second, discussion, question, notes?
I saw we had, there's $3,300 some dollars for the solar attorney fees. Are we still paying those attorneys?
That should be about the last of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wrapping
that
up.
was up through the final hearings and so forth. So I did have a conversation with Matt Frank today. And unless they hear from us to do anything more, we are done.
Well, everything's kind of quiet right now.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if the town of Christiana will do anything or not.
And that's not on the agenda. to
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about.
So,
Yeah.
it's still there, but there's not a lot happening.
Okay.
But that's the answer to your question on the bills. Any other concerns, questions for the bills? Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Whitworth.
Yes.
Hollenbeck.
Yes.
Kumbir.
Yes.
Schaefer Weiss. Breinig.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on now to the unfinished business, the Cambridge Ordinance 2022-05, creating a section 10.28.030 of the Village of Cambridge, our ordinances to allow operations of all-terrain vehicles and utility terrain vehicles on village highways. Let's see, we have Joe here, but Lisa, how do we want to handle this?
You know, I drafted it. I
Yeah.
could say just a few words about it and maybe address some of the comments that we heard at during the public comment portion.
Okay, but I want to make sure that we hear from Joe. So,
Okay, well, I'll give an overview and we can go from there. So as Mr. Lund said, there was new legislation that was effective in 2017 and 2018 that gave municipalities the right to create these ordinances that would open up the ATVs and UTVs on a highway. And I wanted to just take your attention to what we mean by highway, because that's broadly defined in the statute. That means everything within the public thoroughway. It doesn't just mean 12 and 18 highway. It's everything. And so it's the highway that has a speed limit of 35 or less and is located within the territorial boundary of the village is what we have authority over. And so we can authorize that regardless of whether we have jurisdiction over the highway for other purposes. So we can, with the permission of DOT, open up even 12 and 18, but we'll have to get permission from DOT before we can do that. So then, the other statutory provision that was effective in 2017 says that if we want to designate an ATV route, we can either put a sign at each point where it begins and where it ends, or we can just make the default that all of our highways are open unless otherwise marked. And that's the approach that I took based on our discussion during the last meeting. That's the approach that I took when I drafted this ordinance. So this would make the default, everything's open unless otherwise signed. And then you'll notice at the end, normally these ordinances are effective upon publication of the ordinance, but because of the whole sign issue, what we didn't want to have happen is that all of a sudden they're allowed, but we don't have signs in place yet. So I made our ordinance effective upon signage, proper signage in accordance with the DOT standards. So the ordinance wouldn't actually be effective until we put the signs up, is the proposed approach. And then, let's see, what else did I want to just mention here? So, you know, we talked last time about the possibility that the village might partner with a club. So one thing we could do in accordance with the vote that we take on this is there could be a motion to direct me to negotiate an agreement with the club to pay for the signage. Would be probably the way to do that. And then if the village does adopt an ordinance to this effect, what we'll need to do is send it to the DNR, the DOT for approval, and any law enforcement agency within the county, having jurisdiction over the counties. And yes, just to clarify, one of the comments, I agree with the comments that were made during the public comment period. Any law enforcement officer under this ordinance would have authority to enforce what's in the ordinance. And those were the high points I wanted to share, unless anybody has any other questions.
Thank you, Jane.
yeah.
I guess I'd like to ask a question. What about golf carts?
Those are not defined. So we specifically define what is an ATV and UTV here, and they have to have those specific things: headlamps, stop lamps. It goes on there on the second page of the ordinance, and it does not. It explicitly excludes things like go-karts, mini bikes, those kinds of things. So there's certain features that make it an ATV or a UTV that distinguish it from those other types of non-road vehicles.
Yep.
Okay. Joe, can you please come up to the table and introduce yourself and explain?
Microphone, is that cool?
Yeah, you just sit down.
Okay, you want me to sit down?
Yeah. We had talked about this at the last time we met, and I wanted to hear from law enforcement about how they felt with this proposed ordinance. So go ahead.
Sure. So I'm Deputy Joseph Feast. I'm the Cambridge Deerfield deputy. I'm also a Dane County Deputy Sheriff. So I've spoken with all my partners regarding this ordinance and regarding this issue. It is something that's came to my mind because I have seen UTVs driving in the village at times. That being said, the village currently, the way that the deputies that I work with, who police and are assigned to this village and Deerfield, view the ATV ordinance as unnecessary, and we do not agree with having such an ordinance. Our reasons for that are being the Village of Cambridge has no ATV designated trailheads. There's no rural areas or trails where ATVs are designated to be driving. Not to mention the myriad of safety issues which are posed by ATVs. This isn't Door County, and yes, we do live in somewhat of a rural area. However, there's really no need for it. The amount of police presence and, I guess, directed enforcement on ATVs will really occupy a great deal of our time and energy were such an ordinance to be accepted by the village board and adopted by ordinance. You will have issues ranging from the fact that you do not need to necessarily be 16 to drive an ATV. You're going to have people that are operating ATVs without helmets. You're going to have people, this is just, based on my experience as a law enforcement officer, you're going to have people cutting corners, driving down highways too fast, tooling around on them. There is very little actual tangible substantive reason why anyone would be driving an ATV around downtown Cambridge. You're going to get noise complaints regarding them. They're very loud. It's going to occupy a lot of our attention and time as law enforcement policing these issues, because I guarantee you the amount of citizen complaint based on ATVs alone is going to be quite substantial. We get citizen complaints about driving on a daily basis. So if you add ATVs into the mix, not to mention the fact that you have a high school here, so you're going to have high schoolers driving ATVs around Cambridge. And what is a highway? Are you going to be, we're going to be having people cutting from PQ over there through South Pleasant Street all the way to get onto 12. You're going to have people tooling around, near the assisted living facility and ATVs. It's really, quite a hazard, and I hope that the village board really thinks this through. You're going to have ATVs going from Blue Jay Way over to Highway 18, high schoolers most likely, because that's where the high school is. If high school kids driving ATVs to school, I do not think that it is a wise decision on behalf of the village board. And the 3 other deputies with whom I work here at Cambridge and Deerfield all agree with that statement and that sentiment that I've just made. I understand that they're a recreational vehicle, but that's just what they are. They're for recreation. That is their purpose and their utility. So that's our current stance on it.
All right, so
All right,
we're done with public comment for now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe.
So if I may, my future brother-in-law, he's a DNR game warden. He is very fastidious on his policing of ATVs. I would be the exact same way. There have been fatal crashes that he has responded to as a result of poor ATV usage, people not wearing helmets, kids not wearing protection, getting flung from them. Our highways are already dangerous enough. That thoroughfare at 12 and 18 is already dangerous enough. And if you want to have ATVs driving down that is a different matter entirely, and it's an incredibly, potentially disastrous safety issue.
The village has control over what roads they
No.
Okay, all right.
we're not gonna have more public comment at this point in the agenda.
Okay, anything else, Joe?
I think that should do it. I appreciate you allowing myself and my partners who have policed this community for many years, cumulative, to have our say in this, on this matter. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve ordinance, Village of Cambridge ordinance number 2022-05, an ordinance creating section 1028-030 of the Village of Cambridge Code of Ordinances to allow operation of all terrain vehicles and utility terrain vehicles to operate on village highways.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Now we get to discuss it.
Well, we talked about, it sounds like you want to put all roads, or are we going to have designated roads that UTVs and ATVs can ride on?
This approach would have all roads. The village has the authority to take either approach, but this is the proposed approach.
I think it makes the most sense to do all roads if we're going to allow ATVs through the village. I think allowing them on all the roads makes the most sense. Because if we're going to want people to be able to access, so one of the big reasons why I am in favor of this has to do with economic development for Cambridge. I feel like the advantages of the businesses of this town and being able to have a responsible group of UTV and ATV owners to be able to traverse through the village in order to get onto trails, in order to come off the trails, in order to access the businesses. I just think it's a huge advantage for our businesses in Cambridge, and that's one of my big drivers.
Mark? I live in northern Wisconsin. I have residents in northern Wisconsin. I would say that if they're a 4-cycle engine versus a 2-cycle, I can hear a 2-cycle engine 5 miles away, but you have a 4-cycle engine, you don't hear it. And I think I can see people's complaints, the sound snowmobiles make and stuff like that with a 2-cycle engine. It is disturbing.
It's no more disturbing than somebody with a leaf blower in their backyard or their lawnmower. I hear those all the time. I live on Highway 12.
I understand that.
I mean, I get in road noise all the time. So, and the hours of operation in our ordinances are, did we define that in the ordinance? Or is it in the state statute?
We didn't propose one in this ordinance.
Okay.
We could, but it's not in this ordinance.
So let's I mean, if we're concerned about that, let's put in hours of operation.
Okay, Chuck?
There's a lot of pros to it, for sure. Like the ladies and gentlemen that spoke earlier, it's good for business, good for tourism, supports the small town business, moving their equipment. So there's a lot of good to it, but there's a lot of cons to it as well, which I'm concerned about, as Joe just brought up. I don't have too much experience with these things, so I'm open to proving it, but kind of a trial run to see how I'd like to see how this summer goes, and then revisit it. And if we do have a lot of accidents, drunk driving, it's a nuisance. We can revisit it and kind of adjust if we need to. And I'm also in favor of some sort of a curfew, maybe 10 p.m. or something like that, just to
Absolutely, I agree with that.
keep it under control. And that's another thing we can revisit. If we're not having any issues, maybe lift that at the end of the summer, or if it's working, keep it.
I mean, we have the power to change our ordinances at any point in time. Right?
It's true.
Yes.
So if we found there are issues with this, we absolutely could change this ordinance, or whether it's change it all or change a portion of it, we have the power to do that at any point in time.
I'll just publicly state I'd like to look at it again in
No.
August, right?
I think that's great, and if we make a commitment to do that, then we make sure we do that.
Okay.
But I don't know that I would put a date like August. What I would state is, 90 days after the placement of the UTV
Yeah.
signs. So then we know that
Right.
UTVs have had an opportunity to be out there.
I was just thinking we're gonna get the most use out of them, most activity in the summertime, so.
Sure.
Kind of just keep a close eye on it this summer.
Mhm.
And then,
All right. Eric? Any comments?
So to the law enforcement's point, an ATV is different than a UTV. The UTV has a roll cage and has significantly more safety features. I would say UTV is more safe than riding a motorcycle by a long shot.
Absolutely.
ATVs, however, because there's no roll cage, there's no. I'm hesitant about ATVs on village roads. UTVs, fine. There's a lot of. Your dune buggy is basically a UTV for all intents and purposes. It's just a little bigger, heavier duty. So it's just the UTVs that concern me. I grew up in the city of Milwaukee. We didn't have any of this stuff, so I don't really have much experience in it. I know I rode an ATV once and it was fun, but it was kind of scary. UTV looks pretty cool. I'd try it, but looks pretty safe.
Okay. Chris?
Can I actually ask one question? There was a comment that questioned golf carts. Do we have an ordinance that allows golf carts?
We do have an ordinance for golf carts.
Okay.
That allows them?
Yes, with certain restrictions and so forth.
Okay. Thank you.
Chris?
That's a good thing.
I don't know, I think in a village that's becoming more and more inclusive, why as a village board would we want to become so restrictive and exclusive? So that's why I think my vote's going to be yes on this. So.
I agree with putting UTVs on the street, but ATVs is totally different. You're going to have younger kids. You are. And it's a good possibility of them getting hurt.
They have to be licensed.
States it in
They
the
have to be
ordinance.
licensed. It states that in our ordinance. They have to have a driver's license. And
And a helmet if they're
right.
under
And-
18.
Yep, and the likelihood of a 16-year-old getting hurt on an ATV or UTV or in a car, I mean, inexperienced driving is inexperienced driving no matter what vehicle you're in. So,
Well, that's true.
I mean, and
It's easier, but he's going to be exposed more on a ATV versus.
not as
a
exposed
UTV.
as I am on my motorcycle that I drive.
There's kids in mopeds going to high school. They're exposed.
Yeah, those little, yeah, I know.
Okay. I used to have 4 ATVs, and this was up on, I live north of here, up by Castle Rock. And I had a lot of fun with them, and they were great. My boys learned how to drive on these things, really, because they didn't have our licenses, and you could get one for them. And the vehicles had to be licensed. I'm with you, Eric. I think UTVs, from what I saw, the vehicles, and thank you for bringing them here. There were 2 of them outside, I don't know, a month ago when we first started talking about this. And I looked at them, and I can see that these things really do have all of the creature comforts and the safety features built in. They're a long way from ATVs. ATVs, there's 4-wheelers today, but that's to make up for the 3-wheelers of yesteryear. Remember those? And those things were oversized tricycles with a motor on it and balloon tires. I would not be in support of ATVs. I could see getting behind UTVs because I think you're talking about a more mature and certainly they've got a bigger investment in their rigs. And I would say that, we give it a time frame and whether it's, signage or 90 days after they start to roll and just see how they're going. But I couldn't support ATVs.
I think if we allow golf carts on our roads, an ATV is not any less safe than a golf cart is.
Golf cart has a roll cage on it.
No, they don't.
No. No, but I
A
don't.
lot of times they have a canopy on them.
So the canopy, that does nothing and might actually cause more injury. So I don't understand, I don't understand that reasoning. If golf carts are allowed on our roads, why in the world would we not allow ATVs?
Because I can tell you right now, and you've got parents out here, there is no kid that is, let's say, 15 years old that's going to want to drive a golf cart.
15 years old.
ATV, am I right? Yeah, they're just not.
A 15-year-old can't be on the street.
Well, any of them, you know, but UTVs, yes, ATVs, because you're going to have younger kids driving these things.
But they have to have a valid driver's license.
That doesn't mean that they don't drive if they don't have one.
Same with a car.
Okay.
Same with a car. How
Sure.
is it any different? No.
But then no.
We can't do
Yeah,
public
there's-
comment right now.
Public comment's closed. So
I,
that's where I would be at. I
can
won't-
understand, though, that the police department has another thing that they have to enforce also.
yeah, and that's what we pay them to do.
Well, as far as the motion that you have, if this is for ATVs and UTVs, I will vote against it. If you want to amend it to just have UTVs, I will be in support.
So, you had brought up a point about where they would be able to drive, so the current proposal is anywhere. Would you, if you say you would allow ATVs, would you allow them on, if we designated specific paths?
Well, we're saying UTVs.
Right, but I'm saying, to get you to vote in favor of both, if we had specific pathways that they were allowed, would that be more agreeable?
I just don't, I can't see where you want to have UTVs, ATVs anywhere near Highway 12 or Highway 18. Highway 12 gets, the last I checked, 7,500 cars a day. Highway 18 gets somewhere around 1,500.
Okay.
You know, you got 9,000 vehicles a day. I would not want these vehicles to be on those two roads. Now, they can cross them, but not to be.
The way it's drafted, it would include those roads upon approval from DNR and DOT.
The way it's drafted, yep.
And then to your point, you had mentioned curfew, which is not currently in this, so would your motion including 10 o'clock curfew of some sort? Or do you want to just try to pass this now and worry about the details later kind of thing?
I would amend, I can amend my motion to include in the ordinance a 10 PM curfew. 10 p.m.?
Until, yeah, maybe, what time in the morning would you amend it to?
7 till 10? Wait, when is our noise ordinance start? What's the?
7 a.m.
7 a.m., so 7 to 10.
And also an amendment on a review.
Oh, yeah, so ordinarily, do you mean to reconsider the?
I don't think that has to be in the ordinance for us to review it in, because again, Chris, I
Not in
think.
the ordinance, but in the motion.
Right.
To Chuck's point.
I think that would happen at the time that you wanted to review it.
Right.
That option always exists.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could ask you to have it reviewed next week if I want.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so.
And Jane and I had a discussion on that because trustee Schaefer-Weiss had mentioned that in her memo. Typically ordinances, they're laws, and yes, we have the right to change them at any time. Usually the laws aren't written to review at certain time frames. Resolutions, policies are more living documents that can be changed easier. But it can be brought up at any time. So if it's the understanding of the board that 3 months after the signage goes up or 3 months after, August, whenever, the board can ask for it to be reviewed. It's, ordinances are more involved than passing a resolution or something. So, that review can be done at any time, but we don't put in the ordinance books to review this after 3 months.
And then if anyone would like to make a friendly amendment, that would be one way to do this, to the motion to deal with the cost issues, to have the club deal with the cost issues for the signage.
I was going to have that as a
A
separate.
separate item.
Separate
That
item
works too.
afterwards,
Yep,
yeah.
okay.
Once I knew it was going to go through.
Sure, sure.
Mr. President, may I ask a question of the audience?
Yes, you may.
Ma'am, you said that you use, was it an ATV or UTV for work? A UTV, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that common to have a UTV rather than an ATV for work purposes?
Yeah, I use the UTV to put my blower and my lawn tools in.
Okay.
It depends on your circumstance. I use my
And I
UTV
see
for work
that
all the
the
time too.
village does the same thing.
Okay.
There's some guys that don't use an ATV though for work purposes also, for like spraying yards and stuff like that.
Plowing
And
snow.
plowing snow is more so done with an ATV over a UTV. A lot of guys that just only do have the ATVs. Remember, you guys are approving 35 miles an hour on, for the ATVs or UTVs or posted speed limit. I guess that's, not a lot of these four-wheelers are gonna be going at super speeds. You do have to have a license. If you're under the age of 18, you have to have a helmet.
All right. Okay. Lisa, do you have because we've had amendments here to the proposed ordinance. Can you read the ordinance before I call it to vote?
It would be to approve the ordinance as written, adding a curfew from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m.
Okay. And that ordinance is for both UTVs as well as ATVs.
Right.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Kumbier,
Yes.
Schaefer Weiss, Breinig,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Whitwer,
Yes.
McNally.
No. Okay. It passes. So we'll move on to the next part.
I have another, on this item, I have another motion I'd like to make. I would like to make a motion to have our legal counsel negotiate with the UTV, ATV club on the signage that would be necessary for the village.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that carries.
Can I ask a question on your wording, on your ordinance? Where it says designated, number B1, highways are designated as ATV, UTV routes. You might want to check with the state, they don't like to use designated, they like to use authorized, so that might come back to you again on that wording.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And that is this. Okay. All right. Maybe it makes sense to remember this one comes about September, October.
Yeah.
See how we're doing.
Yeah.
Joe, thank you for being here. I know that
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 8B, Fire Commission update. There is the big thing, you saw everything in here from the meetings. Mike, the fire and EMS, they're having an event out there at your facility. I want to say it's June 24th. Does that ring a bell to you? There was going to be...
The EMS appreciation.
Yeah.
EMS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that they were going to recognize one of the guys on the commission, and it was going to be there. That's the only thing I thought was Because there hasn't been,
that calendar yet, yeah, sure.
okay, all right,
We just did a training for them last month.
all right. So that's the only thing that I can offer to you here. I've started meeting with Mark Cook, and we've got about 10 things that we're working on, but nothing at this point that I want to.
You're meeting with Mark Cook in your capacity as?
Secretary.
Secretary?
Yes.
Okay. And that's because you guys are working to like set an agenda and for the commission?
Yes, and it's on the expenses and budgeting and purchase of new units and equipment. And
Ambulance replacement?
Uh,
Big ticket item.
Yeah, we didn't get into that. We just started with some of the smaller stuff. So.
I was at the meeting.
Pardon me?
I was there.
No, I know, but that's not what Mark and I talked about.
Oh.
So.
And I'm sorry, just because I know Gene had a lot of side meetings when he ran the commission, which didn't do any favors for the commission. So I would just be, I'm just concerned about
Transparency.
transparency, yes.
Okay.
So,
All right. Your point is noted. Thank you. So, okay, going on to new business. Discussion and possible action regarding this rezone request from Mike Coughlin. You want to talk about this one?
Can I jump in here, Eric? Because I did
Yes, ma'am.
have a discussion with him today. I
Thank
know
you,
the
Jane.
motion coming from Plan Commission had been to rezone part ag and part residential.
Right.
We cannot rezone one parcel two things. The assessor can assess at different levels, but we can't rezone one parcel as two things. I did have a discussion with him today. He is planning on leaving a fair amount of the land with some agriculture on it. So our agricultural zoning, you can put a single-family house on an agriculture parcel. And then the assessors can assess it part ag, part residential for the best use of the property. So he did, and sorry, yes, we had 2 Plan Commission meetings, but talking it through, he said we could just leave it as ag. He will build a house, he will reach out to the building inspectors to see if there needs to be permits for raising the current buildings and so forth. And then obviously we'll work through the process of putting a new home on. But we wouldn't have to rezone it.
so just to clarify, it would stay agriculture as it is today, and it can do that because agriculture allows for one single-family home. The single-family home that's currently on there, he's removing, and he'd be putting a new one on, so it would be then all square at that point.
Yes.
So no rezoning required.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
God, that's even a better solution.
Yeah. And then, like I said, the assessor, the land is currently assessed 3 different tiers. And they call it, their zoning, but their zoning is different than municipal zoning. So for them, it's the best use for that portion of the property. So he's good with leaving it ag for now.
So we no longer need to address item number 9A.
Yep. So,
After all those meetings you had to have.
No, that's good. We talked
to
about
beat that
that,
one to death
but
anymore.
we didn't really
That was
need to do
good.
it, so.
That's good.
Okay. Number 9B, discussion and possible action regarding a street use permit for the Cambridge Arts Council, Pleasant Street to Water Street, Main Street, Midwest Fire Fest.
yep, and we had talked in the past. They are open this year again to putting it, Firefest. I'm jumping ahead on myself. They have met with the police. They have walked through the plans. They are okay with the plans that they have. They will have the food courts on Pleasant, but it will be open to local traffic, so the
Up
homeowners
to,
can get
yeah.
in and out still. They have been in touch with the fire department. Homeowners in the area will receive notices of the event and of the restrictions. So the Officer Lordson has signed off on this.
All right. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the street use permit for the Cambridge Arts Council for Pleasant Street to Water Street to Main Street for the Midwest Fire Fest.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay. Lisa, you want to take on item C?
Yep. So the North Street for the concerts, they are open to putting the trailer on the street, on North Street again, so we can just block off that one block section of North Street. They'll work with Public Works on those days to have a little better signage earlier on, so people don't get right up to the sign and realize they can't. So a little earlier on. And sometimes it may be needed where they will remove it first thing Saturday morning, so that one block section may be blocked off overnight on Friday night, or Friday nights.
Friday night.
The concerts are. So Saturday morning, they would remove it if they don't get it out Friday night.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the street use permit for the Cambridge Arts Council North Street from Spring Street to Park Street for the summer concert series.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's go on to item number 9D. Lisa?
The Lions Club is asking for a liquor license to sell beer at 3 of the concerts.
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary Class B license for the Cambridge Area Lions Club for June 3rd, July 8th, and August 12th for concerts in Veterans Park.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Okay, moving on to item 10, correspondence. We've got a tourism update from Carol Sapienza and the 2022 recycling grant. You want to, we want to read these?
Carol apologized. She's had a lot going on. She wasn't able to come, so she sent this for your perusal. Thank Chrissy for working on the recycling grant. We did receive $3,950.11.
Yay, thank you for that.
Thanks.
So you brought in $4,000 here. And,
Not me personally, it was a whole.
no,
And Lisa brought in
Yeah,
10,
10,
so
14,
holy
so,
buckets, you guys,
know.
that's
Goodness me.
fantastic.
yeah, we
You
just,
rock.
yeah, it's good.
Well, it's not just sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
no. Yeah. And a lot of it on the recycling grant is information pulled in from Public Works on things that we do for recycling as well as our recycling,
Like how many
There.
Christmas trees they picked up.
yeah.
Okay.
And things like that is, all goes into it.
All right. And then you're working on the insurance claim too.
The flagpole, yes.
Yeah,
Two of you
Todd
are.
has that submitted.
All right.
and-
Good. Okay, upcoming meetings, going to go to item 11. We've got June 7th, the Village Property Tour.
Yep, it looks like that's the date that worked for most, so I'll be working
And
with.
what time were we thinking?
If we want to do we want 6:30 or 6 o'clock? What works for people?
What day is that?
Tuesday, isn't it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yep.
So it's before this?
We don't have a board meeting
Oh,
that day.
that week.
It would be the
would-
first
It's a free
Tuesday of the month.
Tuesday, yeah,
All right.
so,
We have a field trip.
yes.
I
So
love field
You
trips.
know, if we want to do a little earlier, 6 o'clock, or,
I'd be fine with.
That sounds good.
I'd be fine with 6 o'clock, yeah.
6.
p.m. And anyone who wants to attend just needs to show up here at the.
Yep,
is
we'll
this where
put
we're
out
gonna
a
meet?
notice. Yep, we'll probably start here and then go from here.
Maybe we can carpool, so we don't have to drive our own vehicles. Perhaps.
Beautiful.
Okay, so on June 7th at 6 PM here, we'll meet, and then we're going to go on a field trip down there at your shop. June 8th, the Library Board. June 13th, Joint Review Board. June 13th, Plan Commission. The 14th is Law Enforcement, as well as the Village Board. June 21st, Water and Sewer. June 22nd, Board of Review. Economic Development, Audit, and Finance, as well as Licensing Committee. Those meetings will be scheduled this next week.
Yep, and I didn't have on here this Thursday, the 26th, is the subcommittee for the Blue Jay Way at 6 o'clock
Okay,
here at the Amundsen Center.
Here at Amundsen?
Yep.
all right. Questions, referrals to staff, future agenda items, anything for Lisa?
Yeah, we got an email from Andrea Masadi about the vineyards on May
Yes.
20th. Did you respond?
I'm going to, I was out the end of last
No, it's
week.
okay.
so,
I was going to say I can answer a lot of those questions. If we could forward that to the planning commission, I think we could cover
Yeah,
all that
I was
stuff.
going to forward that on to the new building inspector as
Okay.
well. Yeah.
Who got the email?
Uh,
You and Lisa?
No, it was, that was all the board members.
Was it all?
No, it
over?
wasn't all, it was just,
Oh,
it was
Carla.
Carla and,
I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
and
What was it about?
Wilbur.
The vineyards.
A lot of issues, the ongoing issues out at the
Oh, out at the
vineyards,
vineyard.
grading
Oh,
okay.
and,
You know,
Why don't you,
that's
that's
not a board
why
issue.
I'd send it to the building inspector. Some of them are,
you gotta forward it to Lisa, and then
Yeah.
Lisa disseminates it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Property grading,
hmm?
personal property grading.
Yeah, and construction stuff that.
Trash and stuff.
We've, yeah,
Did
and
they
we,
clean, did they clean it up?
Yeah, we did.
You did, or
the guys
whole-
cleaned up a lot, and the residents cleaned up some as well. Yeah, we cleaned up on village property,
Well,
and
So was Vulcan a part of it?
they did come out and clean up some, not all. I'm in the process of working with the police to send them a letter on just a number of issues, you know,
Okay.
tidying up after themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they've got an owners association out there. Why aren't they doing that? Instead of putting the
Yeah.
village in the middle of this all the
There's
time?
questions about driveways that our ordinances
That's not-
allow it. If their HOA doesn't,
That's
that's
an
not
HOA
a
issue.
village
Right.
issue.
There is a question about
Not-
sidewalks, though. She did have a question about the sidewalk at the end of the one cul-de-sac. By ordinance, aren't we supposed to
Cul-de-sacs,
have?
our agreement with the winery does not require sidewalks
Sidewalks.
in a cul-de-sac, in any lot in a cul-de-sac. So the big corner lot that's in the cul-de-sac doesn't need the
Okay.
sidewalk along the street
Isn't the
either.
cul-de-sac just the circle part?
But it says any lot in a cul-de-sac does not need sidewalks in
Oh.
the agreement.
Versus
our
The
actual
facing the
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac, or, yeah, it says any lot within the cul-de-sac does not need sidewalks
Okay.
in our developer's agreement.
Well, that wasn't written well.
No.
Well, if the building inspector doesn't get around to this, or he's too busy, I can answer a lot of these questions at the next planning commission. So I'll
okay.
just offer him that.
Yeah, and I can tell her that, I'll share it with the building inspector and then plan commission as well.
For the Economic Development Committee, I would like to have a meeting. I know you guys are busy with a lot of other meetings as well, so maybe you can let me know what evenings might work for staff, because I'm assuming somebody from staff has to be there? Yeah, so you let me know what works for you for staff, and then we can get that out.
I'll send out more dates and.
I know you suggested a morning, and so I was trying to.
Yeah,
go to that.
it doesn't look like a morning's gonna work though, so it looks like we're gonna unfortunately have to do an evening.
Yeah.
Right.
And then licensing, I'll be setting up as the renewals are due in June, be effective July 1st. So the notice will be going to the paper shortly.
Who's the chair of licensing?
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I know I'm on it.
Yeah.
Got it right here.
I don't remember if I'm the chair or not.
Licensing is myself.
Yeah, I thought so.
So I will be sending out an email with some dates once we, look, the final approvals will be at the second meeting in June, so the committee will meet before then. And it has to be posted or published in the newspaper, so.
Okay. One last item. The Board of Trustees hopes that you have a quick convalescence. We had a little scare yesterday.
Yeah.
And Chrissy, I hope you're feeling better and
I'm getting there.
get this taken care of, so.
I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, looks like it. Anybody else? 13?